what's going on, guys? It's J-Mass. A while back, I watched an incredibly creative YouTube video by Topo Traveler entitled Generating a Random Coordinate and Then Trying to Get There, where he does just that. He uses an online program to generate a random coordinate within the American West and then travels to it. But that had me thinking, what if I were to do this myself, but instead generate a coordinate within the 6 states of New England and then try to get to it?
So that's what I did. Using the same exact program as Topo Traveler, the random location generator on perchance.org, I generated a random coordinate in the New England region. Now, I just want to clarify a few things before I reveal the randomly generated coordinate. Firstly, New England has a lot of private land, and I'm not trying to walk into someone's backyard for this. As a result, I will rule out any and all coordinates on private property. Secondly, for the sake of time and accessibility, I will be rejecting any coordinates that land on extremely hard to reach locations, like islands, lakes, and of course, the ocean. Using the program, I mapped out the region limits for New England by setting coordinates across all 6 states. Of course, to ensure that I included all of New England, some bits of New York and Canada had to be included, but I simply ignored any coordinates that landed there. After plugging in the boundaries and clicking Randomize, I was greeted with a randomly generated coordinate that I would be personally traveling to, and it was an interesting one. According to the random location generator, we will be visiting a random point in the middle of the woods in Bristol, Vermont, a small, rural town I have never heard of before. Interestingly, this point is in the middle of the Green Mountain National Forest and appears to be right at the base of a small mountain. Luckily, this point is right off a dirt road, so accessing the site should not be too difficult. Since we are in a national forest, we also have the added benefit of having free reign to explore this forest, since it is open for public recreational use.
So now that we know the exact coordinate we're going to be going to, I'm going to meet you guys later this weekend and we're going to travel to it. I'm really excited to see what this journey has in store, and I'll catch you guys in just a few days. Hey, welcome back, guys. It is officially Saturday morning as I film this, and I'm in my car right now, getting ready to go. I just plugged in the coordinates into my GPS. Unfortunately, the weather's not that great today. It is slightly cold out, pretty rainy. I know, yet another weekend this summer with rainy weather. What are you gonna do? But nonetheless, I am really excited for today's expedition to these randomly generated coordinates. We're gonna be starting from my house here in Massachusetts, and normally to get to this point, it would be a little over 3 hours from where I live in Massachusetts. But I want to make this journey a little more interesting and engaging, so I'm going to be avoiding highways and interstates all the way there. So that being said, the journey is going to be a little longer now. It's going to be a little over 4 hours to get there. But again, I think that'll make the journey much more interesting and engaging if we avoid highways and interstates, take back roads all the way to this randomly generated point. There'll just be more to see, more to do. But yeah, I'm excited. Let's get to it. We're going to drive all the way to this randomly generated coordinate that we generated just a few days ago, and see what's going on over there and hopefully make a journey out of it. So starting here in Massachusetts, 4-hour drive all the way to the Green Mountain National Forest in the middle of Vermont. Let's go.
As I left my house, I couldn't help but feel confident about the day ahead of me. This randomly generated coordinate should be wicked easy to reach, I kept thinking to myself. All the while, I continued on driving through several Massachusetts towns along Route 119, including Westford, Groton, Pepperell, Townsend, Ashby, and finally Ashburnham, the last town until I hit the state border with New Hampshire. Despite the crappy weather, I enjoyed the scenic drive through these small towns. It was a nice change of pace driving up north without using a major highway. Eventually, I reached the New Hampshire border, driving into the town of Rindge and officially entering the state. By this point, it had been a little under an hour, and I was making pretty decent progress on my journey. I was still feeling confident, even though the cloudy, rainy weather was not letting up. Once again, I enjoyed the quaint scenery as I drove through several more small New Hampshire towns along Route 12, including Fitzwilliam, Troy, Swansea, Keene, Westmoreland, and finally ending in Walpole, the town I'd exit the state from.
Hey, what's up, guys? First major stop of the trip right now. We have slightly over 2 hours left. We're making pretty decent time, actually. So we're about halfway there right now. But speaking of which, we are right in front of the Connecticut River. You can see the Connecticut River right behind me, one of the longest rivers in New England, if not the longest. This river, the Connecticut River, divides the states of Vermont and New Hampshire. So we're currently on the New Hampshire side right now in the town of Walpole, New Hampshire. And right across the river, right over there, is the town of Rockingham, Vermont. So very shortly, we are going to be entering the state of Vermont for the very first time. We're about halfway there, little over 2 hours left, and the rest of the trip is going to be driving through Vermont all the way up to the town of Bristol, Vermont. But before we do that, I did just want to show you around a little bit, show you the Connecticut River, the dividing line between Vermont and New Hampshire, and some cool things that are right here in this immediate area. So as I just stated, guys, this right here is the Connecticut River dividing New Hampshire and Vermont, with us currently being on the New Hampshire side right now. Interesting fact, by the way, the dividing line between Vermont and New Hampshire is not clean through the middle of the river. New Hampshire actually has most of the Connecticut River. Vermont's border is right over there on the river banks. But really quickly, I did want to show you, you can actually see the bridge right there. This is the Arch Bridge. There's a little monument dedicated to it. You can see it was erected by the towns of Walpole and Rockingham, the respective towns in each state, in 1905. And I'll just show you this little monument a little bit. Of course, you got a nice little picture of the Arch Bridge, 1905, 1982. And then the state seals, Vermont, New Hampshire. Take a look right here. Feel free to pause this if you want to read it. This is some history about the bridge. I won't be spending too much time on it, but again, feel free to pause if you want to read it. And then let's take a look at this. This right here is the bridge committee. Again, the Walpole, New Hampshire side and the Rockingham, Vermont side. So yeah, pretty cool little Vermont/New Hampshire monument right here, dedicated to the Arch Bridge and the Connecticut River. Super cool to see. Also some beautiful mountain views where we are. But yeah, I just want to show you guys that. I'm going to be entering Vermont very shortly. Hopefully there's some more stops on the way up there. Haven't really had much luck finding anywhere good to stop, but now that we're entering Vermont, should be a lot better.
As I drove over the bridge, crossing the Connecticut River and entering into the state of Vermont, I made my way through the village of Bellows Falls, located within the town of Rockingham. Suddenly, my progress would screech to a halt as I stumbled upon something major.
Alright guys, so it had only been a few minutes since we crossed over the Connecticut River. I was driving down this road and I completely forgot that we just so happened to be in the same exact town as one of my all-time favorite stores, the Vermont Country Store. You know, I've been to this place many, many times. They have a lot of great local foods and snacks. So I figured on the way up, we'd take a little trip into the Vermont Country Store. Again, one of my personal favorite stores with a lot of great local stuff, and see what's going on inside. So join me as we take a look inside.
The Vermont Country Store in Rockingham has many great local products, ranging from sweet treats and candies to Vermont staples like maple syrup and various cheeses. They also sell clothing, ranging from flannels to wool socks to sweatshirts, as well as kitchen supplies, home goods, and soaps. I frequent this store every time I drive through the area, as I'm a big fan of buying local New England products, and Vermont never disappoints with its fresh and tasty food. In fact, as I was browsing through the store's collection, I was seriously tempted by this Vermont farmstead maple cheddar. Sadly, I did not have an ice cooler with me to keep the cheese fresh, so I was unable to buy it. But man, it looked good. Combining two of Vermont's finest products, maple and cheese, seemed right up my alley.
Seriously, guys, I cannot understate enough how much I love the Vermont Country Store. Genuinely one of my all-time favorite stores, especially here in New England. A Vermont Country Store, if you're watching this, please sponsor my channel. But I just want to show you really quickly what I got. Got two things, two of my favorite things. First off, you know I had to get the maple sugar candies. If you guys are from New England, I'm sure you've had these before. These are pure 100% maple sugar candies. Really good stuff. One of my personal favorite candies. I'm going to be snacking on these the rest of the ride. And you guys might think I'm a psychopath for this, but I got a little bit of maple syrup right here that I'm gonna drink. That's right, occasionally whenever I'm in Vermont, I get these little nips of maple syrup and I straight up drink them. Not even joking. In fact, I'll show you. I'm gonna be drinking this maple syrup.
As I drank from my little bottle of pure maple syrup, I continued driving northward along Route 103, entering small Vermont towns like Chester, Cavendish, Ludlow, and Mount Holly. Vermont is truly a beautiful state, and the drive up was incredibly scenic and serene, even despite the overcast weather and occasional drizzle. As I drove into the town of Wallingford, I actually stumbled upon 2 abandoned houses that I filmed a video on back in late 2023. These houses were pretty fun to explore, with random items left behind, so if you're interested in seeing what they look like inside, definitely check out my video covering them. Anyways, I continued on northward, heading closer to the city of Rutland. By this point, it was around 12:30 p.m., and I was getting pretty hungry. Literally, all I had consumed that morning was maple syrup.
Hey guys, once again I am back. We're currently here in the city of Rutland, Vermont, right in downtown Rutland. Being here in Vermont, it is actually a pretty busy city. We only have a little over an hour left until we hit our randomly generated coordinates. I'm getting pretty excited to finally reach it. That being said, I honestly am getting pretty hungry right now. So I figured what we do is take a quick pit stop here in Rutland, explore the city a bit, and definitely get something to eat because I am starving, to be honest, super hungry. So yeah, join me as we walk around Rutland, Vermont, see what's going on here, and hopefully find some good food. All right, so I'm just kind of wandering around downtown Rutland, Vermont right now. I have been to the city a few times, so I'm pretty familiar with the downtown area, but I definitely want to find some food at some point. I'm pretty hungry. But check this out, pretty cool little monument right here. It looks like someone's skiing on the slopes. What does that say? There are a few times in our lives where we become the thing we are doing. Pretty inspirational. I believe this is for Andrea Meade Lawrence, a Rutland native and America's only Olympic skier to win 2 gold medals in 1 year. It's actually quite impressive. Yeah, shout out to Andrea Meade Lawrence. Anyways, yeah, let's just kind of wander around a bit, see what's going on in the city, and hopefully find something good to eat. I am quite hungry. And then after that, we'll continue on our trip to the randomly generated coordinate. I'm not gonna lie, guys, I think this place is speaking to me. The Hop and Moose. Why don't we give this a try, see what's going on in here.
As I stepped inside of the Hop and Moose, I was greeted by a taxidermied moose head and a giant skeleton in a Hawaiian shirt and sunglasses. The restaurant had a warm, cozy tavern look and feel with a busy bar, and after a short wait, I was handed a menu. The menu was quite expansive, with several mouth-watering options. Ultimately, I decided to go for the poutine as my appetizer. It was solid, with creamy, savory gravy and sharp, gooey cheese curds, smothered atop crispy fries, although definitely much larger than I anticipated. For my meal, I ordered the Beer Works burger, consisting of zippy sautéed onions, sharp and creamy cheddar cheese, smoky bacon strips, and a delectable, poignant maple barbecue sauce blend. The burger was incredibly juicy, to the point where it was a bit messy and saucy, but I still really enjoyed it. Overall, I'd give my experience at the Hop and Moose in Rutland an 8 out of 10.
Alright guys, so I just finished up with lunch and it was pretty good, I gotta say. We are gonna start heading out to the spot very soon, gonna finish up our journey. Before we do that, I just want to explore Rutland with you guys a little bit more. This is a monument I'm pretty familiar with, seen it a couple times when I've been to Rutland, but this is a monument to Rudyard Kipling. If you're familiar with literature, especially New England literature, you're probably familiar with Rudyard Kipling. Feel free to pause if you want to read this plaque. It's about Rudyard Kipling and his time in Vermont. But he's most known for writing the Jungle Book, which he actually wrote while here in Vermont between 1893 and 1894, and you can see this monument commemorates the Jungle Book. Again, one of the most famous pieces of literature of the modern years, even inspired a famous Disney movie. So yeah, shout out to Rudyard Kipling and the Jungle Book, written here in Vermont. But we're just gonna keep on wandering around downtown Rutland a bit, although I do want to start heading out very soon. So I've just kind of been wandering around the city a little bit more, which, by the way, the architecture in the city, super cool. I personally love it. Always been fascinated by the architecture here in Rutland, but Anyways, as I was walking around, I noticed they have a nice little summer fair right here. It looks like some sort of farm fair or festival. Figured we could just wander around it a little bit. Then we'll continue on with our journey, but just figured we'd walk around and see what's going on here.
I walked around this little farmer's market for a few minutes, taking in the many local offerings ranging from arts and crafts to flowers to clothing to baskets to local foods like honey, maple syrup, and cheese. It was a cute little market, and I really enjoyed the sights and sounds of the event, but I knew that I still had to make my way to the final destination and complete my journey.
Alright guys, let's keep on going with our journey. We have about 1 more hour left, and then we'll hit our randomly generated coordinate in Bristol, Vermont. Pretty excited to see what that has in store, so let's carry on and leave the city of Rutland, Vermont. Feeling good? I'm feeling full. Alright, let's do this.
I was officially on the final stretch of the trip, heading northward along US Route 7 as I passed through many quaint Vermont towns like Pittsford, Brandon, Leicester, Salisbury, and Middlebury. By this point, the weather was really improving. The clouds were clearing away, the rain had stopped, and it was getting significantly warmer. I was really feeling good about this journey now, and I knew that I was getting very close to the coordinates. Finally, after numerous hours of driving, I had reached the town of Bristol and entered the Green Mountain National Forest. Surrounded by thick, dense foliage on all sides, I knew that I was getting close once the paved road I was following suddenly changed to an unpaved dirt road, marking the entrance to my spot. I continued onwards, although my car had other ideas.
Alright guys, so I ended up having to park my car and we have to hike the rest of the way there. It's a little less than a mile, so it's not that bad, although it does seem like it's mostly uphill from here. Yeah, look at this road. I knew it was dirt roads once we got to this general area, but the quality of these dirt roads are a lot more rough and rugged than I expected, so there was no way my car was making it up here. Not only is it rough and rugged, but it's also uphill. My car would not be able to do this, so I had to park nearby, and now I'm just walking to the spot. So the rest of this trip is going to be on foot until we reach the randomly generated coordinate, and man, it is buggy. Bugs everywhere, but it is summer. But yeah, we're just walking now on this unpaved dirt road. We're really getting into the sticks of it now. We're in the Green Mountain National Forest here in Bristol, Vermont. I'm really excited to finally get there. Again, a little less than a mile away, and we'll be reaching the coordinate. And just to give you an idea why I couldn't just drive up this road, I mean, look at it. It is really rough and rugged terrain. It's all loose rocks and stones. And again, the camera doesn't really do it justice, but we are going uphill. It's steep, a lot of loose rocks, not paved at all. Yeah, there's no way my car would be able to survive driving up this. But not a big deal. Again, we're just gonna walk the rest of the way there. I did just want to show you how rough this terrain is. We are truly in the middle of the woods now.
I continued following this unpaved dirt road for a few more yards before I was once again stopped suddenly by an unforeseen obstacle.
So guys, we got a bit of a slight issue here, nothing major, but a slight hiccup in the plan. I've just been walking along this dirt road the whole time, and as I was walking, I noticed a slight obstacle that puts a bit of a damper in our plans. Why don't I just show you? Check this out. Private property, no trespassing. That's right, I didn't realize this, but apparently down this road is all private property owned by one guy. Now, luckily, as I was walking up, I actually ran into the guy driving his tractor. And although he didn't give me explicit permission to keep walking down that road, which by the way, we have to do to get to the randomly generated coordinate, he told me of an alternative plan B we can take. So he's still giving me permission to go to the coordinate. He just doesn't want me to take that road. Now, there's actually a trail right here. This public trail leads to the coordinate. So I'm not giving up just yet. We're still gonna make it. We just can't take the most direct route, which of course is this road, which I did not realize goes into private property. And that's, as I stated at the beginning, one thing I want to avoid. But as I said, I talked to the private property owner. He was pretty chill and he gave me permission to go down this trail instead. So that's what we're gonna do. Now, we are so close at this point. We're a little less than 15 minutes away from the randomly generated coordinate. It's just gonna be a little bit more of a trek to get there now because we have to go through the woods. I don't know how maintained these woods are, so I'm a little nervous about wildlife, but let's just do it. I'm gonna try my best to get there.
Worst case scenario, we get close to it, but let's see what happens.
It wasn't long before the so-called trail I was following faded away and turned into an untouched dry riverbed, covered in loose stones, tree branches, and the occasional muddy stream. I began trudging my way through this dense wilderness, ducking under fallen trees and watching my step as I jumped from rock to rock, trying to bypass the many crevices along the route. At this point, I was essentially bushwhacking through the woods, with no clear sign of a trail or path anywhere. It was soon becoming clear that trying to reach this randomly generated coordinate was going to be much more of a physically enduring challenge than I had originally anticipated.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. At this point, there is no trail anymore. I'm basically just bushwhacking through the untamed Vermont wilderness right now. No trail anywhere near me. I've long since passed by it. I have a general idea of where I am, but like I said, I don't really have service out here. So my GPS is not giving me an accurate reading. That being said, I have a general idea of where I am. And if that's the case, we are 10 minutes away. But as I said, there's no trail anymore. We're just bushwhacking through the middle of the woods here in rural Vermont. I don't know what to expect. I mean, again, we are completely in the middle of nowhere. There could be bears and deer and stuff here. This is crazy. I wasn't expecting the day to end like this, but you know, it makes it more of an adventure. This is gonna be a banger video when this comes out, by the way. That being said, if you're wondering why the guy didn't give me permission to go down the road, but he gave me permission to go through the woods, that's because apparently he has a lot of animals out in his property, like dogs, cows, pigs, stuff like that. And he doesn't want me to like scare them. I guess they're kind of roaming around. So he doesn't want me to walk in and scare all those animals, which I totally understand. That's why he gave me permission to just walk through the woods. But also we are in the Green Mountain National Forest, which is public recreational land anyways. Yeah, it's a crazy moment. I wasn't expecting this. But we are getting close. Hopefully we hit the exact spot. Although I'll be honest, I'm a little nervous that we might not. But at the very least, worst case scenario, I can say that we were within 10 minutes of it. So I'm going to keep on bushwhacking, hopefully get closer to the location, and hopefully we can hit it.
So there I was, trekking through the dense foliage in the remote Vermont wilderness, consumed by a sea of green trees. At this point, it felt like I was hiking for much longer than I should have been, and I was beginning to get concerned. Nothing really seemed to be adding up here. And then, upon doing some more research by looking at my GPS much more closely, I realized that I made a grave mistake.
I'm gonna be honest, guys. I think I might be the dumbest person on earth. I just realized that I made a glaring mistake at the last leg of this trip. Now, right now, we are currently headed in the correct direction. We should be at that randomly generated coordinate soon. But I realized I made a mistake. You know how earlier I showed you that private property sign and that road that I was following? Well, I was following the road the correct way up until I hit that sign. I made a mistake and thought that that private property sign was the continuation of the road that I was supposed to follow to hit that coordinate. Apparently not. Apparently the trail that I took, you know, remember that grassy trail that the guy in the tractor told me to take that veered to the left? Apparently that's the road I was supposed to take all along. It looks kind of confusing on Google Maps because it labels that grassy trail as a town highway, whereas the main road I was on, I thought that was the town highway, but apparently that was just someone's driveway essentially. So the whole time I should have been following that grassy trail, which is really the road that leads to the randomly generated coordinate. So the mistake I made is that I'm bushwhacking in the middle of the remote Vermont wilderness for no reason. I don't have to be doing this. I could have followed that trail the entire time. I was making a mistake because I thought that that dirt trail was the road I had to take, so I've been following it through the woods. Instead, I was just following that guy's driveway. So a bit of a mix-up. To be fair, I mean, I don't know why Google Maps kind of labeled that as a road. I guess maybe it is. It definitely had markings of cars and vehicles using it, but I don't know, whatever. It is what it is. Now I know the correct way to go. It just means that I was bushwhacking in the middle of the woods for zero reason. There was no reason we had to be doing this. And I've been out here for quite some time now, but we're good. I know where to go now. I just wanted to give you guys an update about J-Mass's silly, stupid mistake, which I'm not gonna lie, I do blame Google Maps for. That's ridiculous. So that should not be a town highway. Maybe I'm just a city slicker. You know, I didn't grow up in any rural area like this, so I don't know. But we're good. Have not come across any bears yet. I believe we're still about 10 or so minutes away from this coordinate, so I'm going to continue on. Just want to give you guys an update about my silly error.
Upon realizing that I was going in the wrong direction the entire time and then correcting myself, I began walking back up towards the quote-unquote town highway I was meant to follow, which, let's be real, was not a road. It barely even qualifies as a trail. I was once again back to navigating through the woods alongside the dry riverbed, although my time in the forest was soon coming to an end. I finally reached a genuine dirt road and embarked upon my final trek.
All right, guys, we are officially in the final stretch right now. We're literally 3 minutes away from our randomly generated coordinate, and man, what a journey. What a journey it really was. We drove all the way up to here in Vermont, not taking highways or interstates. I then bushwhacked and trekked through the middle of the rural Vermont wilderness. And although we are back on the road again, this is a very rough, not very smooth road. I mean, we are truly in the middle of nowhere right now. Not a single soul near us. This is crazy. I mean, this took a lot more than I thought it would to get to this point, but I'm beyond excited. Well, let's just get to it. We're so close. We're finally going to be arriving at this point.
The moment had finally come. I took my last few steps along the unpaved dirt road, a road likely few have ever walked across, as I made my way towards the entrance to the coordinate I had randomly generated days prior. It felt surreal to finally be here, at this exact point I was looking at on a map for so long. As I approached the spot, I could barely believe that I was here, and I couldn't help but consider what it had taken to get to this moment. I did it. I made it.
Welp. You know, guys, we tried. You know, I don't feel that bad. Although we just hit yet another no trespassing private property sign, I will say we are so close to the randomly generated coordinate. I'm talking like literally 40 to 50 feet away. I can actually see it. It's basically right down there through the woods. I don't know if you guys can even see it, but way down there, if we were to follow this trail, we would hit the randomly generated coordinate. It's right down there. So I'm super close. Like, I can literally see it with my own two eyes. But again, yet another no trespassing sign. This is private property. Now, if I was a little more ballsy, I would just go for it and say screw it, but I don't know. That just feels really disrespectful, especially for, at the end of the day, what is just a random set of numbers that a computer picked for me. I'm happy that we at least made it to the general vicinity. Again, I can see it with my own eyes, and I think that's all that matters to me. As long as I can visualize the randomly generated coordinate right over there through those twigs and sticks, then I'm happy. We are literally like 40 to 50 feet away. We're super close. But this sign is gonna stop me today, unfortunately. Hey, I mentioned it at the beginning of the video. New England has a lot of private land, unfortunately. Not much public land in New England, especially compared to the rest of the United States. This is a good sign of that, but we tried, we got very close, and that's all that matters. You know what, guys? I gotta say, even though we're not physically standing on the coordinate that was generated for us, I'm still really happy, and I'm still proud of myself, because we still made it to the general vicinity of this randomly generated coordinate. It's literally right through the bushes, right there. I mean, I can literally see it with my own two eyes. We're standing in the general area of a coordinate that was randomly generated for us by a computer program. And man, what a journey it was to get here. What an expedition. It took us so long to get here. We had a lot of stops along the way, saw a lot of things. We avoided highways and interstates, but we made it here, and it was an incredible journey. I absolutely loved it. This was truly one of the most fun experiences I've ever had making a video for my YouTube channel. This was truly incredible. It's really interesting too to think that if not for that random location generator, I would probably never be standing in this exact point. I'm in a random forest in a random town, Bristol, Vermont, and I think, again, if it wasn't for that computer program, I would never be standing in this exact spot I'm standing in now. It's crazy to think what events will bring you to certain locations. But, you know, it was a great time coming out here. Had a bit of a hike, got turned around a little bit, but still, I got to see quite a bit of Vermont's natural beauty during this trip. I loved it. And I just want to say, if you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know down below, because I truly would be interested in doing a sequel. I would love to do another random location generator, but to a completely new point. So if you're interested in that, let me know in the comments below, and I would love to make a sequel someday in the future, maybe again this summer. This was a great one to make. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, although we didn't physically touch the coordinate that was generated for us, we made it to the general vicinity. Wow, what a journey. I mean, literally, this took like 7 to 8 hours to get here, all intents and purposes. But yeah, guys, I've been J-Mass as always. If you love urban exploration, abandoned locations, traveling New England and beyond, and in this case, going to random coordinates, well, I'm always doing that on the channel, so feel free to subscribe to the channel. I want to give a major shout out to all my channel members. You can see them all right here. You guys are awesome, and I'd love it if you too, viewer, became a member of the channel. You'd be supporting me and the channel directly, and I truly appreciate it. Or you can follow me on Instagram at @JMassOfficial. That's at @JMassOfficial. But I think that's about it, guys. I got to go all the way back to my car now. Got a bit of a trek back to the car. Got to bushwhack through the woods again, down that town highway. I mean, that's ridiculous. Really quickly though, before I head out, I do want to show you one interesting thing that I saw on the way to this point. I don't know if I can go inside it, but let's take a look at least. All right, guys, so for reference, this was where the randomly generated coordinate was, right down this road, down those bushes where that yellow sign is. But if you go down here, and if you follow this road, it leads you to a random, seemingly abandoned building in the middle of the woods right there. Now, it's kind of small, kind of hard to see, but you can see there is some graffiti on it. If I had to guess, it's probably some sort of hunting lodge, you know, maybe even an outhouse. I don't think it's anything crazy. It's actually quite small, but random abandoned building here in the middle of the woods, truly in the middle of nowhere, Bristol, Vermont. That being said, I'm not going to go to it because there is yet another private property, no trespassing sign. I actually think this entire forest right up here is all privately owned, most likely including this building, but I did just want to show it for all my urbex aficionados. Random abandoned building here in the middle of the woods. But yeah, guys, that's about it. I'm gonna head back to the car and enjoy not having rain for once. So I'll see you guys later. Hope you enjoyed the video. It was a fun one to film, and let me know if you'd like a sequel. But this was my trek to a randomly generated coordinate in New England.